Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that's literally right under our noses, or, well, flowing out of our faucets. We're going on a bit of an investigative journey into the systemic contradictions of public water fluoridation. We're going to bypass the rumor mill and look strictly at the clinical data, the biological mechanisms, and honestly, some pretty surprising industrial facts about what's actually in your tap water. It's all about turning complex toxicological information into clear, actionable knowledge so you can make the absolute best decisions for your household. Okay, let's dive into this.
So here is our roadmap for today. We'll start off with the daily fluoride paradox. Then we'll track its systemic toxicity and the body, followed by a look at the impact on children's IQ. After that, we'll uncover the actual industrial origins of fluoride. And finally, we'll wrap up with some empowering, highly effective home filtration solutions.
Section 1. The Daily Fluoride Paradox. A contradiction in your bathroom.
All right, I want you to think about a super common item that is probably sitting on your bathroom counter right this very second. The question we really have to ask ourselves here is, why can't you swallow toothpaste? Seriously, go check the tube later. It's kind of a relatable mystery, right? Why is a product that's specifically designed to go inside our mouths so heavily restricted when it comes to actually ingesting it?
Well, take a look at this. This is the exact warning label you'll find on a standard tube of fluoridated toothpaste. It literally says, "Do not swallow. If ingested, contact a poison control center." I mean, just let the sheer absurdity of that sink in for a second. We are actively instructed to put this substance into our mouths every single day. If the manufacturer explicitly warns us that swallowing even a tiny bit means you need to contact medical poison control authorities immediately, it's flat out classified as potentially toxic if ingested.
And you know, this brings us to a massive, just glaring systemic contradiction. On one hand, a tiny, pea-sized drop of toothpaste is strictly restricted because of its potential toxicity. But on the other hand, municipal tap water consumption is universally permitted, completely unmetered, and honestly pretty much unavoidable every single day. So what's the deal here? Why is it tiny drop regulated like a hazardous substance, yet we're encouraged to just drink gallons of fluoridated water with absolutely zero individual dosing regulation or any way to opt out?
Which leads us to Section 2, Systemic Toxicity and the Body, Beyond the Oral Cavity. To really understand what happens when we drink this unmetered water, we have to look way past our teeth. When you ingest fluoride, those ions completely bypass the mouth. They absorb directly into your systemic circulation. And this brilliantly illustrates how fluoride has this remarkably high affinity for mineralized structures in the body. It just accumulates heavily over time. We're talking about targets like your skeletal system and your renal tissues, your kidneys. Crucially, it gathers in the pineal gland, which actually disrupts natural melatonin synthesis. So yeah, it messes with your sleep. And it even blocks thyroid hormone receptors, which is terrible for your overall metabolic health.
And to put this into perspective, statistically speaking, at the institutional quote-unquote optimum fluoridation levels, 40% of the pediatric demographic exhibits dental fluorosis. That is a developmental defect causing porous, chalky enamel. It happens because of chronic overexposure during early tooth formation. Think about that. Nearly half of the kids exposed to this water supply are walking around showing visible, physiological signs of toxicological overexposure.
Moving on to Section 3. Impact on children's IQ. Neurodevelopmental risks.
So while several European nations have completely banned water fluoridation, the practice is still going strong across American municipal systems. But recently, the U.S. National Toxicology Program, after reviewing literally decades of data, concluded that higher systemic fluoride exposure is consistently associated with reduced IQ metrics in children. We aren't just talking about chalky teeth anymore, we are looking at a measurable epidemiological impact on cognitive development.
Let's break down why this specific demographic is so incredibly vulnerable. Contrast how adults process this versus infants. Adults take in this systemic load across a fully grown body mass. Neonates, on the other hand, receive a massively compounded toxicological load per kilogram of their tiny body weight. When parents mix infant formula using fluoridated municipal tap water, they are inadvertently delivering a highly concentrated toxic dose straight to a rapidly developing brain. And remember, these babies don't even have teeth yet.
All right, Section 4, Industrial Origins of Fluoride. Where does it actually come from?
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that when most of us think of fluoride, we probably picture this pristine, pharmaceutical-grade additive created in a sterile lab, right? Well, actually scratch that. The reality is vastly different. The actual chemical deployed is something called hydrofluorosilicic acid. Try saying that 3 times fast. By definition, this is an unrefined hazardous waste byproduct. It's captured directly from the environmental wet scrubbing systems during heavy industrial phosphate fertilizer production. So instead of safely disposing of this toxic heavy industry byproduct, it's literally barreled up and pumped directly into the public water supply.
Now, before you think this sounds totally crazy, repurposing industrial waste into consumer goods is actually a highly visible cross-sector commercial strategy. Just look at the parallels here. The agriculture industry routinely rebrands treated municipal sewage as biosolids for fertilizer. The petroleum sector takes their chemical byproducts and turns them into synthetic food dyes. The commercial corn industry turns their production waste into high-fructose corn syrup. And water systems? They take fertilizer scrub and rebrand it as municipal fluoride or hydrofluorosilicic acid. It takes the focus off conspiracy and puts it right onto standard, albeit questionable, industrial recycling practices.
Which brings us to Section 5, Effective Home Filtration Solutions, taking control of your exposure.
So, the crucial point is that you absolutely do not have to be a passive consumer of this municipal infrastructure. But I have to give you a quick warning. Your basic fridge or pitcher filter is not going to cut it. No way. Standard activated carbon block water filters are molecularly incapable of extracting dissolved fluoride ions. Sure, they might filter out the chlorine to make your water taste a little better, but they are completely ineffective at removing specific halogen derivatives like hydrofluorosilicic acid.
And get this, exposure isn't just about what you're swallowing. During high-temperature tasks, like, say, taking a hot shower, that fluoridated water actually volatilizes into an aerosolized gas. Crazy, right? This causes rapid transdermal or skin absorption, and it leads to direct inhalation right into your respiratory tract. It can even trigger chronic skin irritation for a lot of people. That's why whole house awareness is absolutely vital to fully protecting your biological systems.
Let's move to and see how this builds into our targeted extraction protocols. Step 1, you've got to ditch those standard carbon block filters if your goal is fluoride removal. Step 2, install a high-efficiency reverse osmosis or RO system or a thermal distillation unit. These are the big guns that actually isolate and extract those dissolved ions from your water. Step 3, if an under-sink RO system isn't an option for you, make sure to utilize targeted countertop filtration media that is specifically certified for halogen reduction. And finally, Step 4, use this purely filtered water exclusively for all your drinking needs and definitely for reconstituting any infant formula.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from the undeniable systemic contradictions in our bathrooms to the stark neurodevelopmental warnings from toxicology experts regarding children's IQ, all the way to the totally unrefined industrial origins of municipal fluoride. The biological facts are out there, and the power is now in your hands. So knowing its true industrial origins, what advanced filtration steps will you take today to protect your household's neurodevelopment? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Get out there, take action on your water supply, and I'll see you next time.